Over centuries, Africa has evolved through various forms of governance. Nearly 20 years ago, I met my very first African leader. He was Samuel Nujoma, the founding president of the Republic of Namibia. Almost exactly 10 years after I met President Nujoma, I met with Joachim Chissano, second president of the Republic of Mozambique. Chissano told me that if I really wanted my students to understand democracy in Africa, I should bring them to Mozambique while elections were taking place the following year. So in 2009, I began doing precisely that, starting with national elections in Mozambique and continuing in several African countries over nearly a decade. My students saw this and expressed it best.
We debate about government involvement and healthcare and how we don't want our government to do this, we don't want our government to do that. In Botswana, we saw that the ARVs for people infected with HIV were provided for free because the state felt that it was its duty and responsibility to take upon such matters. So maybe we have it backwards.
I was able to get a lot of hope from being in Ghana. That's the main thing I took with me. Ghanaians, they didn't feel like, oh, if my candidate doesn't win, I'm going to have a huge hissy fit. They were just like, you know, I want so-and-so to win, but if he doesn't win, it's okay.
My real interest was to find out what Africans themselves, particularly the leaders, thought about how things were changing in African governance.
If corruption is a threat to democratization in Africa, then I would say it's equally a threat to Western civilization or the emerging BRIC nations, including China. Corruption is decaying, and decay threatens all lives.
Sometimes people forget when they try to compare Liberia to Ghana or to some of the other West African countries, they forget this whole period of destruction where we have to overcome. The idea is to make sure we learn from those lessons of experience.
Are they optimistic for the future of democracy on the continent?
There is no joy than the joy of building peace with sisters. No one has experienced this joy until you form a movement like this one. It's sincere, it's genuine, there is no fakeness in it. It's all about Liberia.
In the end, democracy on the continent is struggling, but slowly improving against many obstacles. Leaders are hopeful, but realistic.
Tonight's final award recipient has shown the world what is possible when people unite, mobilize, and persist in defense of their core principles and in pursuit of positive change. Malawi may be a small country, but it set a very powerful example for the entire world over the course of its last election cycle. Elections held in 2019 saw the incumbent president declared the victor, but they were riddled with glaring irregularities. And rather than retreat into cynicism or abandon faith in democracy altogether, the people of Malawi demanded better, organizing mass protests focused on the electoral issues, but also on the need for more economic opportunity, on respect for human rights, and calling for an end to corruption in government. Surveys showed this wasn't just about the supporters of one candidate versus supporters of another. Concern about the quality and integrity of their democracy crossed party lines, and Malawians found ways to work together on the issues that mattered to the whole society. With courage, independence, and professionalism, courts backed them up, issuing a ruling in 2020 to annul the electoral results and calling for new polling. A new round of balloting in June of that year led to a decisive win for Lazarus Chakwera, an opposition candidate representing not just one political grouping, but a coalition of opposition parties working together. And then Malawians witnessed the peaceful and democratic transfer of power. For much of tonight, we've focused on interdependence among nations, but partnerships are necessary within nations as well. These alliances animate the civic engagement that can reimagine policies, advocate for the marginalized, hold the powerful accountable, and and safeguard democratic institutions. So tonight, we present the National Achievement Award to the people of Malawi for their tireless and fearless defense of their democracy and their ongoing insistence on government that works for the people.
Hi, I'm Derrick Johnson, President and CEO of the NAACP, the largest and oldest civil rights organization in the United States and designated with the UN as an NGO. The health of any society is measured by how well we care for our elderly. Are we preparing our young people for a strong and prosperous future? Do we protect the most vulnerable in our communities? And do we engage so that we can have a just governance where all of our voices can be heard? If we can do that, that is a healthy society. It is for that reason that I have this distinct honor to present to the people of Malawi and President Lazarus Chakwera the 2021 AAI National Achievement Award. Congratulations to the people of Malawi, to all of my friends at the Africa America Institute, and for everyone that's here today, especially the honorees, for celebrating our connection throughout the diaspora and appreciating the independence of our nations.
My deepest congratulations to the people of the Republic of Malawi. My heart, my soul, my spirit was in pure joy and deep gratitude, witnessing a peaceful change of leadership. The honor of peace, the honor of democracy, the honor of unity, the honor of love you have showed the rest of our continent has left all of us with so much hope. Hope that other countries, like even my own of Uganda, can one day see a day like this. And hope is one of the strongest things one can have, because it drives a belief that our tomorrows can be better than our yesterdays. And that hope and that belief becomes more than a dream. It becomes a possibility when you witness what the people of Malawi have accomplished. I'm inspired, Africa is inspired, and all of us, the sons and daughters of the motherland, we all have rejuvenated hope. Congratulations to the incredible people of the Republic of Malawi.
Congratulations on receiving the Africa America Institute's National Achievement Award of 2021. You came to the presidency through Malawi's peaceful democratic transition following a contested electoral process. That transition was made possible because of robust engagement by your civil society in defense of democracy, constitutionalism, and rule of law, as well as the courageous exercise of independence by your judiciary. More recently, Zambia experienced a similar peaceful democratic transition. This is a positive trend, and we trust Malawi will continue to be a champion for democracy across Africa. We also wish to congratulate you for taking over as chair of the Southern African Development Community during its 41st summit in Lilongwe in this month. As chair of SADC, you now have regional responsibilities, including ensuring access to the COVID-19 vaccine, as well as advancing research, development, and manufacturing of vaccines across Africa, addressing the rising debt crisis, and resolving the crisis in northern Mozambique. All of which is to say, you have a lot on your plate. We hope this award provides you with the reassurance that you have the faith and hope of many behind you. We look forward to stronger partnerships with Malawi and SADC for a better Africa. Once again, we extend our congratulations to you and the people of Malawi. It is now my honor to introduce His Excellency Lazarus Chakwera, President of the Republic of Malawi.
Your Excellencies, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to stand before this prestigious global audience on behalf of the people of the Republic of Malawi, who are being honored here by the Africa America Institute for their collaboration and resilience in the cause of advancing democracy. When I presented to the Malawi Electoral Commission my nomination papers as a presidential candidate on the 5th day of February in the year of 2019, I had no way of knowing what the treacherous journey I was embarking on. At that time, I had been a legislator and leader of opposition for 5 years, and the law required me to relinquish both roles before presenting myself to voters as a presidential candidate. As such, even though I was to run for president against a sitting president, a sitting vice president, and a sitting cabinet minister, the law required that I do so as a private citizen with no access to state funding. And so the only reason I am president today is because the Malawian people themselves funded the campaign in their determined quest to make democracy real. As the campaign progressed, I and my campaign were exposed to numerous security risks all over the country. As cases in point, I escaped a rain of stones hailed at me in the north of Malawi while attending a cultural event, then escaped a mob armed with panga knives and clubs in the south of Malawi, and then escaped an onslaught of police tear gas in central Malawi while attending a diplomatic meeting. The only reason I'm alive and president today is because Malawians themselves protected me and gave me safe passage in their determined quest to make democracy real. Our campaign traveled the length and breadth of the country for 2 months, and our supporters braved the cold draft of May to stand in line and cast their vote. But in the middle of the night, we received reports from our monitors all over the country that the ballot papers were being doctored by election officials. And I myself held a press conference the next day to blow the whistle on the fraud, for which I was roundly mocked and ridiculed as a sore loser. And so the only reason I'm president today is because the Malawian people themselves reported the electoral fraud in their determined quest to make democracy real. While the declared winner of the fraudulent election was being sworn in, I was at a press conference announcing my decision to challenge the conduct and the result of that election, a move that made me a pariah in many diplomatic circles, including the denouncement of my character in a speech before the entire United Nations General Assembly. But the Malawian people, whose democratic rights had been violated more than my own, urged me to press on and fight for justice through the courts, which they supported through peaceful demonstrations across the country. The only reason I'm president today is because the Malawian people themselves followed every minute of the court proceedings via radio to ensure that no evidence, no witness, and no judge would be corrupted. When the court case was ruled in our favor, and the 5 judges of the court ordered that a fresh election be held within 150 days, we despaired about finding enough resources to travel nationwide canvassing for votes. But we were able to run the best campaign in recent years through a coalition of 9 parties because the Malawian people themselves brought us together in their determined quest to make democracy real. You see, what the Malawian people have done since the spring of 2019, they did not do that for me, nor did they merely do it for themselves and their country. They did it for democracy, which means they did it for the liberty of all humanity, born and unborn. By standing up for their democracy, the Malawian people stood up for all democracies. It is therefore no accident that The Economist named Malawi the country of the year 2020. Nor is it an accident that Freedom House identified Malawi as the only country in the world whose democracy grew stronger in the midst of the pandemic. As such, it is fitting that this institute is pleased to honor the fine people of Malawi with this year's award, and it is my humble duty to accept it on their behalf. My prayer and appeal are that now that we have seen the Malawian people for who they are, now that you have seen that Malawians are the world's leading champions of democracy, you will also see them worthy of investing 100 scholarships to go towards training those Malawians whose positions and gifts are critical to the strengthening of the democratic institutions in which they serve. After all, if Malawian people have done great things for democracy with little, imagine what they will do for democracy with much. I thank you for listening, and thank you for this great honor.